Now, African economies are highly unlikely to achieve any significant structural shift from a mix of extractives and agriculture to manufacturing and services as a dominant portion of their economies ahead of the 2015 deadline, going by the current uneven and extremely slow progress. Leaders from across the continent who are meeting in Abuja, Nigeria, however, are pretty optimistic, though, that not all is lost. Let's find out why. CCTV's Peter Okawa joins us now from the Nigerian capital with more from the meeting of the African Union and ECA, that's the Economic Commission on Africa as well. Peter, the fact of the matter is that over the years, there are several impediments, especially with regard to infrastructure, that still have not been sorted out. So to what extent can industrialization really take place if prerequisites like stable power supply haven't even been sorted out yet?
Well, indeed, Rama, that is a question everyone here is asking. And indeed, just to stick to the issue of power, because we're in Nigeria and the country is right in the middle of a major electricity crisis and ironically hosting a conference towards industrialization of the African continent. When the conference kicked off yesterday, we were briefly plunged into limbo because the power went and before the backup generator came in, and the chair of the session dryly commenting that that was a prime example of the sort of thing that the African continent needed to sort out those challenges if indeed the conversation towards industrialization was to be taken rather seriously. The government itself here pointing out that over 30 million people are without stable power. The United Nations pointing out that right across the globe, 1.6 billion people are without a stable power. Of that 1.6 billion, about 600 million, or give or take, are estimated to be on the African continent. And the major problem surrounding this is how to finance the development of power projects right across the continent. You will, of course, remember the Grand Inga Dam that is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. $12 billion required to bring that up and running. Not much in terms of financing coming towards that. The World Bank putting about $3 billion recently into a feasibility study project for that, but putting in a caveat and saying that that was not indicative that they were going to finance that project going forward. A lot of other projects such as that right across the continent, and thereby indicating that the problem of power shortage right across the continent may not be sorted out soon. Thus leading many people to wonder whether indeed the dream towards industrialization of the continent by any means going to be achieved in the near future, Rama.
Indeed, but at the same time, Peter, the fact of the matter is that on average, less than 20% of exports from any African country actually end up in another African country. Now, if African states aren't trading significantly amongst each other, they're not creating a market, how are they supposed to industrialize if their own markets are essentially shut to them?
What essentially you're talking about is African integration, that is the development of a pan-African market, which is expected to be something about, give or take, depending on who you ask, anything from 1.2 to 2 billion people. I had that conversation earlier on with the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Economic Commission for Africa. His name is Dr. Abdullah Hamdouk. And he was the opinion that when it comes to integration, the battle for that in Africa has already been won, and that there are two kinds of people when it comes to integration here. Those who want to go fast and those who want to go very fast. Well, of course, the reality on the ground might be just a bit different. Of course, we do know that there are governments that are protectionist, various trade barriers, things like immigration and things like that going on, because governments want to maintain a bit of sovereignty. And the conversation here surrounding what needs to be done going forward so as to resolve that situation. But indeed, the conversation continues, and for now, the situation remains as it is unless the governments take the integration conversation seriously and move forward towards implementation, Rama.
Indeed, we'll have to leave it there for the time being. Thank you very much for that. That's CCTV's Peter Okawa live there from the Nigerian capital of Abuja.